a variety of topics. I've attended pretty much all of them, and they help you, in your entrepreneurial journey to learn about a variety of topics. Just recently, also we started a new initiative for women entrepreneurs called Sri Shakti. That is also, I think they meet once a month at the Thai office on a Thursday. So I'd encourage all the women entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs to become a part of that. We finished our first Nurture initiative, I think a couple of months ago, which is very successful, and we've launched a new one. So we had a bunch of companies who are part of this initiative, and we have a lot of charter members who help them, again, go from one level to the other, basically taking their business plan to the business plan. And I believe it goes for the next 6 months. And then again, we'll announce the winners from that. So I'd like to acknowledge our knowledge partners, Sri Shantanu Rao Kirloskar Chair and University of Pune. And I'd like to invite all of you, if you're not already a part of TIE, to become a part of TIE by joining them. Go to their website, go to our Facebook page, look at the videos. There is an email address and a phone number that you can use to reach out to Mandar, and he'll be happy to share more information with you. So with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Ajay Nagarkar on the stage, please. So we'd like to start our My Story session with Mr. or Professor Dipankar. Thank you.
Okay, let me begin by introducing Professor Dipankar. He did his bachelor's in electrical engineering from IIT Mumbai and then went to pursue his master's and PhD in physics in Rice University in the US. And then immediately decided to come back to India to start his independent research activity. And that's actually where I bring my first question. So with all this education, this high-end education that you took at Rice University and at IIT Mumbai, what exactly was the reason that made you come back to India right after you completed your PhD? I'm sure there must have been a lot of job opportunities, fat paychecks luring you. So what made you come back?
Yeah, interesting question. True, there were fat check offers that were given by companies in the area that I was working in. But the real thing that kind of motivated me was not decided impromptu at the end. I was pretty much convinced that I wanted to do things which are challenging. And just to give you a sense that it was pre-planned, throughout my graduate student career, I used to keep a separate account, bank account, and keep whatever excess cash I have, I'll just put it into that account, just to make sure I have a seed fund, because I knew that at that point in time, the first year maybe, I have to make sure that I'm on my own. And so it was planned, okay, right from day one. And just to share an anecdote, the entrepreneurial blood has been in me right from my childhood. So even in school, high school I had changed my SUPW, there used to be a subject called socially useful productive work. And I had made sure that I opened a chai stall in school and made money on it, okay. And later I had an electronics repairing shop, which then started to do business and went for a loan. This was pre-IIT, before I joined IIT. And it was pretty alright by my standards. So there was a point in time that I was earning more than my dad. So it was not completely out of the blue decision at all. But yes, considering the usual norms about how people would look upon the stability. In fact, my own advisors, some of the companies who were trying to hire me, I told them I have my plans, and then they would go to my advisors and they would in turn try to convince me. They said, it's a good idea, maybe you should stay for a couple of years. But of course, the plan was there. So within a week of my graduation, I packed up my stuff and I was back.
So it was already pre-planned from high school. So once you came back to India, what was it like in India? What were the challenges that you faced? What did you come here to start with? What was the first activity?
Well, let me qualify now. I wanted to do an entrepreneurship, not just any entrepreneurship to start with, but something I felt very deeply about was the fact that I was involved in research and interacting. Let's say I was in IIT, I had done my research in BRC and other research institutions. Wherever I went, I would see that the instruments which are, all the apparatus instruments, they're all invariably imported. And it used to bother me. And I was part of, even as a student, would be repairing things in BRC, which those scientists will come say, oh, this is an expensive thing, nobody could repair this. So what happened was, I was getting somewhere in my mind, and I was pretty good, I shouldn't be saying this on my own, but okay, I mean, I was pretty hands-on. So, and even during my graduate school days, I was building things which, quote unquote, would be called state of the art. And it dawned on me that one interesting area would be to make a mark by creating a company that does high-end scientific instrumentation from this part of the world. Just as a challenge, So that had its own difficulties because, I mean, it was okay to have a passion saying that I want to do this. But when you came back, the first rule of business is to have customers. So who are these customers? The kind of things I'm going to sell are going to be primarily laboratories, and so there were challenges on one hand to make sure you need to have good people to assist you, because I'm talking about high end, okay? Not just anything, but you need people who are scientifically accomplished and of course motivated. But here's the interesting part. Maybe not everyone is familiar. I used to build something called a scanning probe microscope, scanning tunneling microscope, which, and you can say that I was kind of one of the pioneers who were in this field. So with this instrument you can see individual atoms. Meaning you talk about a microscope which is maybe 1,000 times or more powerful than the best electron microscopes. And this you are building, and when I went and started to build this, I need to have customers, and maybe some of these labs, they have their own prejudices about how can it be that you are making good things over here. You will have big dignitaries come to your place and see the thing, but when it comes to actually writing a check or something, all kinds of dynamics are there.
Yes, I hear you.
So there were challenges, and in a way, to be honest, those challenges taught me how to deal with the reality of working in an ecosystem like this. And I found it even more challenging, and some of the things that emerged, not by plan, but just by having taken that plunge, was very exciting, and part of what I'm doing right now is a consequence of that.
Right, so fast forwarding to right now, you founded Tree Labs some time back, and maybe you can throw some light about Tree Labs, what exactly is Tree Labs, and...
Sure. See, Tree Labs, I'll try to give a summary first. If I can make the shortest summary, Tree Labs can be summarized in three ideas put together. And I'll put it in terms of slogans. We say, invent the inventors. So, in some sense we are saying that inventors are not these geniuses. Inventors are people as ordinary as you and me, and we think it's a process, and therefore we can create and invent the inventors. So that is one. So in some sense we are saying, let's create those sparks that can enable people to become inventors. Rule, or the second idea that we are core in the Tree Labs' thinking is, create the entrepreneurs. We're saying that, okay, it's fine to invent the inventors, but how about taking these things to the real world? And our vehicle is entrepreneurship. And so we believe that entrepreneurship is also an algorithm, that it is not just hit and luck and you just land up being an entrepreneur. So I think that process can be amply algorithmized, and therefore we say create the entrepreneur. So that's the second part. And the third, which I think is the most interesting one, is how do we club together all of this to create what in common parlance is called a commons, like the Creative Commons or the GNU Linux movement. So the whole idea is, can we put together a framework in which we can invent the inventors, create the entrepreneurs, and fuel this whole process where you do not need the usual external support of donations and any kinds of support mechanism which will only limit its ability to go further. We said, let's adopt business models which allow us to make real impact in the world around us, and let it go out in a way that big industries do. So And yet